Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday, June 7th. Jay Callan, Mollywood coming at you with a big news show. I'm going full radio and I don't know why.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, welcome to the show.
Hey,
said it before. We'll say it again. Media is a terrible business. Coming at you. BuzzFeed is tanking. Their stock is absolutely getting decimated. Their market cap is worth less than their revenue. What? We're going to talk about what this means for the employees, the future of the company, and the stock market writ large.
Yeah, and my new motto, math is a harsh mistress. No more, by the way, bitching about dongles, we hope. The EU is mandating at long last that USB-C ports be standard by 2024. Death to lightning.
Praise Jesus. I don't like government intervention, but in this case, I'm going to go with it for the good of the environment. And we've got a startup of the day in the sports space and a We Live in the Future segment for an ear transplant. It's pretty amazing. It's going to be a great show.
Stick with us.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by OpenPhone. As a startup founder, a lot of mistakes are easy to roll back, but using your personal cell phone number as your company number isn't one of them. OpenPhone makes it easy to get business phone numbers for you and your team right on top of your existing devices. Visit openphone.com/twist to get 20% off your first 6 months. Squarespace. Turn your idea into a new website. Go to squarespace.com/twist for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use offer code TWIST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And Thorne. Thorne empowers people to take control of their long-term well-being with a proactive, science-based approach to health. Through a variety of at-home tests, Thorne teaches you about what your body needs and provides the right, high-quality, certified nutritional supplements for you. To get started and take 10% off your first order, head to thorne.com/u/twist.
BuzzFeed, ouch, is the really short headline here. BuzzFeed shares dropped as much as 41% this week, yesterday, I believe, on Monday, marking their worst one-day percentage drop in trading history. Of course, BuzzFeed went public via SPAC in December 2021. The stock since then is down more than 72%. It's now trading at around $300 million. And if you're watching live, you can see this chart of the stock drop. And it is just, we've seen a lot of cliffs. I know this isn't as bad as like the Snap cliff, for example, but it was over 33% drop in the last 5 days.
And this is because the lockup was ended. So when you go public, employees, venture capitalists, typically private market investors will be locked up for 6 months typically. And when the lockup comes up, people may want some liquidity. But those people, if they have faith in the company and they are in fact insiders and they've probably been investors or employees of the company for a long time, basically, I'm not going to say they're trading on inside information, Molly, but they're informed participants in this company. In other words, they might have invested 10 years ago or been on the board for a long time, have received investor updates, or they may have been in the building and worked there for a long time. Right. So for them to sell in such a major way and for there to be no buyers is the problem. Now, if there were buyers who wanted the stock, great, then it might drop 10%, 20%. We saw that when Masa was clearing his position at Uber. Well, you'll see it when venture capitalists start clearing their position in any IPO if they choose to do so. But usually, the insiders will stick with it. Maybe they'll sell a little bit, but they generally don't like to sell on the day the lockup expires. So this is very telling. It is a vote of no confidence, in fact, by the insiders. And you really need to think about that. The company is now trading at around a $300 million market cap. And that is really
less
crazy.
Like only slightly less than the total 2021 revenue, which was $397 million. But that's such a good point about the lockup and how it represents people who work there, were issued early stock, and are like, we're out.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal quote, a BuzzFeed spokesman attributed the volatility to the lockup period, which he said expired on June 1st. He said the company had very low float and a few owners of its stock, making it sensitive to extreme fluctuations when major investors sell. So a float, so people know, is the number of shares available to trade freely. So you'll typically have the insiders own a bunch of these shares and you have a small number of people in the public who own it. And so with a smaller float, you could have more volatility.
Now, to be fair, it seems like even at the time, I think, even when they did the SPAC, investors had pretty low confidence. According to the Wall Street Journal's coverage back then, it said 895th Avenue Partners Inc. SPAC's announcement. Following that announcement, about 94% of the $287.5 million the SPAC raised was withdrawn by investors. So as soon as it went public, they cashed out, is my understanding of that.
Or I think the way technically the SPACs work is they make an acquisition and then there is a redemption possibility. So if you don't agree with it, you bought it at 10, you have the ability to get out of it. So I think that might be that the investors, when they found out what 890 Fifth Avenue Partners was going to buy, said, oh yeah, that's not for me.
Right.
I'm out.
I see. So they pulled out of the actual vehicle, the acquisition company. Gotcha. Ouch. Yeah. Okay. So that's
again, another vote of no confidence.
Every time, and this sucks. We're sitting here, veterans of the media industry. It is hard to have to face this over and over and over, but media is not a great business. It's a tough business. It's a really tough business.
Ad-based media specifically also challenged. They work great as small, independent, owned businesses. They thrive. They can have solid, not ridiculous margins like software, but okay margins. And so they're not really meant to be traded as public companies unless they hit a massive scale like a Disney or even the New York Times has done okay. It's still a tiny company, but really subscriptions are maybe more in favor by the public markets. And obviously nobody is going to subscribe to a bunch of listicles, what BuzzFeed's known for, right? So
they started doing really good journalism, to be fair. They really did start breaking, and they, I think, had to because they built a lot of growth on the listicles, and then they really did build a quality journalism product. But unfortunately, it's very likely that the quality journalism product didn't sell as well as the listicles in terms of clicks, right? Like it's a tough, the digital. I mean, what's interesting about the New York Times is that by far the fattest margins and the most money they make is on the print subscription still.
Yeah.
Like digital media is particularly difficult.
Yeah, and just having a lot of subscriptions creates a base of users. So, at least you have predictability. And the stock market does like predictability, whereas advertising is not predictable. Going into a recession, owning an advertising business, well, what happens in a recession? Right. Everybody clenches a little bit. Maybe you spend a little less. Maybe you cut your advertising 10%, 20%. So I would say the percentage of advertising being cut will be similar to the percentage of layoffs. So when you see 10, 20% layoffs, you probably see 10, 20% as well cut from advertising budgets. It might be more extreme in a company that's broken. And some companies might increase their spend into a recession because advertising gets cheap. They get more value for dollar and their businesses are doing well. But if we do the back of the envelope, which we love to do here, current market cap of 397.5 million revenue in 2021, not even 2022. And if you look at their Q1 2022 earnings report, Molly, they only had $74 million in cash. Now, they don't lose that much money, but they're in a bit of a cash crunch, which might be why people are also concerned. They have at that time, they had $98 million in accounts receivable and $143 million in debt. So this business has debt on it. So the debt outweighs the cash and cash equivalents. So this is challenged. They had an operating loss of $35 million. In Q1, they lost $44 million. So you start looking, you put all this together, Molly, the risk of ruin looms large here. This is very similar to the Peloton situation where, maybe people think this company could actually not be able to thread the needle in a recession.
Well, and
this is why you want to have cash in your bank account.
Seriously. And the losses are widening, right? Like the net loss was 4 times larger year over year than it had been in the same quarter the year before. Like because it's a hemorrhage situation now. So yeah. Oh my God. Could BuzzFeed go? I mean, talk about a cultural moment. Well, we talked yesterday about the weird Binance SPAC situation, how it was Binance took a big stake in Forbes and was going to take it public via SPAC. And probably because of these signs, that SPAC was scrapped. Like they just said, no way. And it was sort of a combination of, I think, the SPAC environment itself, but also just these hard realities about media and advertising.
Yeah. I mean, or BuzzFeed, like Fortune, could take a quick investment from FTX, Binance, and they could just buy part of it, and then they could write great crypto stories. You had Vice Media valued at $5.7 billion. I think BuzzFeed's top valuation was $1.7 billion. Vox Media has been over $1 billion. So I think what we're going to see with all of these companies is, maybe they're worth 1 times top line revenue, 2 times top line revenue, 10 times bottom line. So if you have, 3, 4, 500 million in revenue, you're worth 3, 4, 500 million. Now, if you had 100 million in profits, Molly, well, then you might be 100 million times 10. You might actually be worth $1 billion. So for BuzzFeed to be worth $1 billion again, I think they have to have at least 100 million in profits. How do you get 100 million in profits? They've got to cut 1/3 of their costs or something crazy like that. I mean, they're losing money now. So, they not only do they have to cut the 50 million they're losing a quarter or whatever it is, they've got to cut another 100 million on top of that.
Yeah.
So they got to cut 150 million in expense.
And they need to get
per
people
quarter.
To pay for something probably. I mean, you look at the information and Axios, which has like a very expensive, subscription tier for newsletters.
Yep.
It's the companies, I think the media companies that have figured out how to make other companies pay expensive subscriptions as part of work are the ones who I think are going to be able to pull through this downturn.
Listen, lots of founders are loosey-goosey with their personal phone numbers. They put it on their company documents. They use it on sales calls, email footers. It's all over the place. What happens if that salesperson leaves the company and now people are calling and that person's gone on? Maybe they went to a competitor and now they're using their personal phone number to get sales from previous emails that they sent under your email address. But you will clean up all this mess with OpenPhone. They help you create a business phone number for you and every member of your team. And it works through an app on your smartphone or desktop. You pick a number, you install the app, bada bing, you're done. That's it. No need to carry 2 phones like back in the day. And by the way, we can tell you OpenPhone is amazing because our sales team uses it every day. I kid you not, we use it every day. That's why we're such fans of this. OpenPhone is already super affordable, a starting price of just $10 a month. Twist listeners can get an extra 20% off any plan for your first 6 months by signing up at openphone.com/twist. And if you have an existing phone number with another service, no problem. OpenPhone will port them over for free. So head over to openphone.com/twist. And listen, we get credit for you using the service. You're going to love it. And you're going to save 20%. Okay? Great deal for everybody. I've come to some conclusions about the media space.
Yeah.
In my career, because we both spent our careers there. It's not a venture investment. It's not venture investable.
Yeah.
But content is king and content is super important. So the place I've come to, and you might see it in my behavior, is media plus something. Okay? So there's 2 businesses I am CEO of right now, Inside and Launch. And if you look at both of them, it's media plus something. Molly, in Launch's case, what is it? Media plus what?
Plus investing.
Okay, very good. Correct answer. So the media business...
I know, I was like, oh crap, what's happening?
The media business helps the investment business, and the investment business, of course, informs what we make here every day because you and I work with a team of 21 people looking at startups. So you and I become super smart about this. Look at your first 6 months. We were talking with Brad Gerstner, bestie number 5, and he was just over the moon at watching how much you're learning. And so we share that with the audience. Now we look at Inside.com. Inside.com has over 4 million in revenue, and we've been profitable, I think, 6 or 7 of the last 8 quarters. We've got over $2 million in cash. Business is doing great. Email newsletters and events making money, but it is now a media business plus something. What's the plus something that I added in the last couple of months?
A social network.
Okay. So here we go, folks. This is just Jay Cowell's observation.
Yeah.
Media businesses are great. People love media. People love content. It's super engaging. It's top of the funnel. But you need something else. And you need something that scales. So Inside.com now has profiles. It's got a social network and it's got a social news product. And next week, we're going to drop the jobs. So you will be able to, on Inside, go to inside.com/crypto/jobs and post a job for free or browse jobs. And we added questions. So now you can add friends like a social network. You can post questions. You can post a news story. You can comment on a news story and you'll be able to post jobs. So you start looking at that. It starts looking like Reddit and LinkedIn, right? And so that was my intent because Reddit started doing content. They started professionalizing their AMA department, and LinkedIn has tried a couple of times to do more content. So my thinking is, if you're great at content, well, build some other business and attach a high-scale business to it. And for BuzzFeed, what would be a great high-scale business, Molly? If we were to think out loud here, what could you add to BuzzFeed with this very popular audience of media-savvy coastal elites, perhaps, young people who like listicles? Maybe it's very millennial-driven. What could you add to that?
I mean, they should start a creator business.
Okay, great. Right? What a great idea. I didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
Sure. You could have podcasters. I was going to say, I know this sounds silly, but there are casual games that are the equivalent of the New York Times crossword puzzle that if you added them to BuzzFeed, and I went to BuzzFeed and I was into cats, and there was a casual game about cats, or a strategy game, or Wordle type game, or Pictionary type game. Remember, there was another viral game. So if they had some sort of a casual game studios, maybe that could scale. So all these people come there, and then they get into playing casual games with each other. Just top of funnel, whatever. What if 50 million people go to BuzzFeed, 100 million people go to BuzzFeed, and then flow them into casual gaming, maybe, or games of skill, right? Like poker or Farmville type things. You start thinking about those games, Zynga Poker. Imagine you had Zynga Poker-like games under the content. So I came there, 20 great pictures of cats, or I read some coverage of, Tom Cruise. And then it fed into, here's a cool game I can play, or I can play solitaire, or I can play poker with my friends. And, I'm looking to, because people are looking to waste time, right? BuzzFeed's a time waster, like a little guilty pleasure, if you will, a little, maybe, I don't want to say junk food.
With some occasional legitimate news.
It's hard for me and my brain to remember that. I know they won a Pulitzer, right?
I think they won a Pulitzer. Like, it's such a weird,
they won a Pulitzer.
Really
sorry to the people over there who won a Pulitzer. It's hard to separate those two things.
It's really true that like news is either a premium subscription, like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or the Information, the Economist, or it's a loss leader for the thing that actually makes you money. Like this was my experience at CNET over and over and over. It's got a good, pretty good news department. I built the video department. We built podcasting. All of those were secondary to the primary goal, which is get people to come and buy technology and get leads. Like there's a huge, and it doesn't matter to CNET if nobody knows who they are, because they make a crap ton of money on people coming to their site and buying products, and it generates
eventually
leads.
They get some affiliate revenue because you bought a laptop, or you put in your contact information to go to a webinar by some storage company because you're part of some big company and there's some enterprise storage solution from EMC or Amazon that you bought into. So yes. Now I think they could be break-even businesses. So if you look, here's the good news for BuzzFeed. You make 20% cuts, you're at break even, or 5%, it might be 20%. Maybe you do some salary reductions, right? That's what I've always said will be the next shoe to drop, Molly. When we start seeing salaries being renegotiated, and BuzzFeed seems like a perfect example of that. They just go to the staff and say, listen, for this business to be worth anything and for your shares to be worth anything, we're going to be cutting executives 10% and everybody else 5%, or top executives 15%, the next tier 10%, and then everybody else 5%. That gets us there. We don't have to do layoffs. So you have that conversation, or you just cut 15% and don't make any salary cuts. Yeah. So you can do that either way. People have different philosophies of that, but that'll be probably the next shoe to drop at a place like BuzzFeed. And then you say, listen, we're going to break even on this business, but we're building a podcast business underneath it. We're building a creator one where we're going to have a social network built into BuzzFeed where people can share recipes and photos of themselves, whatever it is, something that scales.
Where we can get a crap ton of money from brands to promote those things. Like you go straight, you don't try to sugarcoat that as news. Like it's a creator studio where you're getting paid by brands.
They had that already. They were one of the first to do
SponCon,
Yeah, they were the first to do that quite controversially because you couldn't tell what was sponsored content there, and they were pretty cutthroat about it, right?
Yeah. So they're in the perfect position. Just turn on the merch funnel.
But they could do a merch funnel. Yeah, Barstool Sports. Actually, here's another perfect example. Barstool Sports made a little bit in advertising, a lot in merch, some in podcasting, but ultimately they got bought by a gambling company, a wagering company that uses them to get Barstool people will gamble on sports. So they're a funnel.
Yeah.
So perfect. Just like Fortune is now a funnel for crypto grifts. I don't think it is. That was a joke.
Well, but, it's been interesting.
I sold Barstool to Penn National Gaming. Sorry,
Penn National Gaming. That's right. Well, and like in things that I have been a little bit bitchy about, if I'm being honest, There's been this kind of ongoing thing of Justin and Ben Smith, the two Smith guys, Justin Smith of Bloomberg and Ben Smith, who was at the New York Times. And they've been sort of going around trying to like raise money for this media company that was like super vague. And every time somebody interviewed them about it, it was like they bolted on another thing like, oh, we're for foreign readers and English language and this and that and da-da-da-da. And they've been trying to raise what sounds like venture investment. I think probably investment overall, but even just venture investment. And you have to wonder if like there was enough of a bubble that even media seemed like a good investment. And I have to wonder if those days are over now. I'm like,
those days are over.
I'm all in on the public radio model, man. Like listener-supported journalism is a great model.
We also known as subscriptions. Like they're donations and subscriptions are donations. And even those, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all the public radio folks went to a monthly subscription, a monthly donation, which could be called a monthly subscription. They're like, would you like
subscription? Totally.
Yeah. So it's, here's the thing. Venture capital is for high growth rocket ship businesses. Mm-hmm. These are not rocket ship businesses. These are slower growth businesses. Their trees do not grow to the moon. They're not going to have software margins, nor are they going to be, $10 billion companies. And if you're in venture, you're trying to hit that $10 billion mark. 1 billion, if a couple of them hit $1 billion, that's nice, but it's not going to return your fund in all likelihood as an investor. And these large funds need to be able to return their fund. Mm-hmm. And they're just not going to do that. So people made some frisky bets on some of these things. And, they got a little too loose. BuzzFeed, Vice, Vox, they could all be great businesses with solid margins, but not for venture capitalists. For private equity folks, for people with a different return profile, Molly. People who want to return 2 times their money, 3 times their money. Not 100 times their money. So let's keep moving. And to the folks over at BuzzFeed, hopefully my tip helps. Think about a business like, the people who are buying ads on your site. Just if they're buying a lot of ads on your site, maybe you should be in that business as well. So who was buying Barstool ads? Wagering companies. Maybe there's somebody making merchandise, like Amazon Basics type stuff, maybe direct to consumer. Maybe there's a BuzzFeed brand to be made. Maybe you make BuzzFeed cool design products, and that's your business, and the content flows people to that high margin business.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Maybe it's
they have a very trendy, like popular media and video business. Just merch it up.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, we got some exciting news for you right now. We're going to give One Twist listener $1,000 in Squarespace credits. You ever go to a company's website and it looks absolutely gorgeous? Well, we want to show off your best web designs, and it can be anything. A landing page, a feature flow, a design aesthetic, anything that would wow your users. So use your creativity here. The possibilities for submissions are endless, and you can apply. It's super simple. You head to showusyourspace.com, which will redirect you to a tweet from me at Jason. Then you reply to the tweet with a short video, image, link, GIF, anything that shows off your space. Then my team and I will feature the best submissions on This Week in Startups. So we're going to plug your startup, your landing page, your video, whatever it is. And I'm going to pick one of these winners to give them a $1,000 Squarespace gift card. Today, we're going to highlight a submission by Twitter user Jonah Salita, and it's called Dial with 2 L's. It's a mental health app focused on Gen Z. You can check out the product at dialapp.com with 2 L's. The site looks great because you guessed it, it's built on Squarespace. Come on. We knew it was built on Squarespace. That's why it's so beautiful. And don't forget, you get 10% off at squarespace.com/twist by using the promo code TWIST. I love this Uber story.
Let's talk about, our less risky bets in some ways. Uber taking a play from Apple, seeing what works and then doing that.
Yes. Uber Eats is coming for GoldBelly, apparently. TechCrunch has the announcement. GoldBelly CEO Joe Ariel was on episode 1283. As you know, I'm a huge fan of GoldBelly. And Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi was on episode 1226. Well, here we go. Uber is becoming a super app. Obviously, I have a horse in this race. I'm still a large shareholder. And they are doing nationwide shipping on Uber Eats. So if you're on Uber Eats and you're ordering tonight's meal, what if you want the Peking duck, or you want Bloodsoe's barbecue, or Sarge's Deli, or waffles and dinges in New York City? I don't know what that is. Before my time.
Someone's favorite. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you could start doing these things where merchants will do this. Obviously, a lot of brands have been doing this direct, where they ship and they make a nice living on this. So if you're a Magnolia Bakery, they were on GoldBelly, but you could also buy direct from them. And I think I've bought direct from them. So a lot of these iconic brands of food that people loved from their, local neighborhood, and then they moved somewhere, or they heard about it, or they experienced it on vacation, let's say. Mm-hmm. You want to get great bagels? Sometimes I will order great bagels, or I'll order a great pizza, or I'll order the Peking duck kit. It comes to you with like dry ice, Molly, and like far too much packaging.
Oh, yeah.
For it to be justifiable for every night, but maybe only 5 or 10% more packaging than your normal DoorDash or Uber Eats. So as a once in a while thing to celebrate some food you love from around the world, it's a great idea.
And GoldBelly really became like a sensation during the pandemic in particular. GoldBelly's been around for a long time and has a really big catalog of local restaurants that you can order from. And, it's like a lot of the tourist favorites, but not completely. I did like a Philly night for my boyfriend for one of his birthdays during the pandemic because we couldn't really go anywhere, and he went to Penn, and I got cheese stick. Like I looked up, what's the actual cheese stick place that the locals like. It was on GoldBelly. I had them delivered. Like it sort of became this fun phenomenon. Yeah. And it's, I think, helped a lot of small businesses. Like it's a really big small business story. And it is also, it's just Uber Eats coming for this like very popular business. And it's kind of cool competition. A friend of mine made the point that like old Uber just would have bought them.
Yeah.
So now we have like competition and we get to choose who does it better and who,
Maybe GoldBelly's not for sale. That's a possibility. Maybe they tried.
They might have.
So that's often what happens. And sometimes one of the really elite competitive tactics, Molly, I've done it myself, is to start a competitor if the competitor won't sell to you. I won't say which company that was or what the circumstances were, but I advise somebody.
Stripe Mafia.
It's straight mafia behavior, but it's like, listen, if you're not going to sell to us, we're going to start a business. In fact, Google started Google Video famously because they couldn't buy YouTube at some point. So they're like, okay, well, if we're not going to get that business, we need to be in the video business. So let's start Google Video. And Google Video was like the most boring, utilitarian, upload your video, share it with the world. It's going to come up on Google search. But, you look at that and it was like, that was a scary moment for YouTube. Wait a second. If Google puts a video tab, and I had written about it at the time, man, if Google puts a video tab, that's game over because they have images and news, and people were like, they'll never make a video tab. Sure enough, 6 months later, they put the video tab, and I think maybe it was a year later, they owned YouTube. So, it's kind of like we're either you're selling or we're competing. Yeah. And I think that's like an honest way to do this. So for GoldBelly, maybe they want to sell to Uber. Maybe they want to sell to DoorDash. And this is Uber's way of saying, hey, we're going for this business one way or the other.
Right.
And we don't have to acquire customers, by the way. Uber doesn't have to acquire customers. We've already got the customers.
They already have the customers. Now they need the merchants. Yeah. Some of them might say, right. It's just, I think it's just going to be interesting to watch. I did not even know, by the way, speaking of like the power of branding, I know all about GoldBelly and that's what we all use. DoorDash does this, evidently.
Rolled out a similar feature. They started it too. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like maybe just Katz's Deli right now. Yeah. But they're working in that direction too. I mean, I'm all for this. Like, for one thing, I think it's great for businesses to be able to ship it. It's like Shopify, but for the real world.
They don't have to do any work. It's like, and here's the thing on merchants. Many of these merchants may already be on Uber Eats. Think about it. Katz's Deli is almost certainly on Uber Eats.
Good point.
So they already have a relationship. So you're just like, hey, check this box to ship outside of New York City. Boom. Like, it may not be like you have to go, like GoldBelly's got to go door to door and convince the merchants to do this. Yeah. This would be like Airbnb saying suddenly, would you like to rent your home for, would you like to put a conference room in your home? If you put a conference room in your home, we'll have a business section. Imagine there was a conference room availability. Like there used to be a company that did Breather, I think was the name of it, where they would do conference rooms. So if you and I wanted to have like a This Week in Startups meeting every month, we could have a couple people come. We rent the place for the afternoon. Imagine Airbnb said, we're going to put a tab called office space, business spaces. Man, they could compete with WeWork, and then all the people who have things could say, imagine you could set up the apartment with a Murphy bed where it folds up. Is that the one, the Murphy bed that you fold up like that?
Yeah.
And you said, hey, if you're ordering this as an office, we're going to put a table out, a conference room, Wi-Fi is going to be on, and you can, we'll put 8 chairs around a big desk. And that desk will be a folding desk. We'll put a tablecloth on it. You're all set. So the person who's the host switches it from bedroom, studio, apartment to collaborative office co-working space. Could be killer.
Why did they not do that? I don't understand.
They will. Well, everybody, it takes time. You got a lot to focus on.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing at a time. But yeah, it just is really interesting how this has become a big thing to do. And I'm excited about it. I think it's great. It's probably more work for the businesses because they have to figure out the packaging and the dry ice and, the packaging is all that. But it's a super smart move by Uber for the reasons that you say. They already have the economies of scale.
Well, and GoldBelly has probably gone to all of these businesses already and taught them how to do the dry ice and had webinars with them.
Totally.
So,
now they're just like,
they literally can just take the GoldBelly list.
Thanks, GoldBelly, RIP GoldBelly.
And the Uber Eats list. You take the GoldBelly and Uber Eats list, when you cheated in school on a multiple choice test and the teacher holds the 2 things up to the light and looks through them and is like, okay, you guys got the wrong ones correct, the right ones. You just hold those up and you look for what is, maybe it's 70% of Uber Eats and maybe 70% of GoldBelly is already on Uber Eats and DoorDash. You just go after those 70 and then the last 30, that'll be your slow, that's your roadmap for who to go after next. They've already been taught how to do dry ice shipping. They already have some space set up in the kitchen or somewhere in the facility, and UPS is already coming there to pick up the GoldBelly packages. So it's no sweat off their back to do, DoorDash and Uber Eats. So I think this is the super app nature of Uber is going to be very compelling over time. I wish Uber Payments had worked. That would have been super cool if we could have sent each other money by Uber Payments, or like they already have splitting checks. But I think gifting is a really, really powerful one for Uber, as is like theater tickets. Like I would love to see more of the experience things like last minute tickets, which is in Dara's wheelhouse. Like imagine you're in New York and it's like, here are 100 last minute tickets on a tab. And it's like, here's the countdown clock. Boom. Buy some tickets to, Broadway or a concert, just last minute style, or Hotel Tonight style, last minute hotel rooms. Another brilliant feature.
This is where I think it's really going to be interesting, the build or buy question, or the build or buy or aggregate, right? Because we talked yesterday about iMessage potentially becoming that super app.
Yeah.
And they won't have to build out a delivery network or, they've just got apps in the app store. And if they integrate them better and stop, they're moving away from that kind of like really siloed model. So if it's like, I'm on the screen, the home screen of my phone and what is it called? What's the ticket thing? Red, blah, blah, blah. Or Hotel Tonight or whatever. They all have like a location enabled widget that's just like, do you need a hotel tonight? And then I can do it through iMessage and it gets real.
This is why I always felt like, Google, Amazon, and Apple were the eventual buyers of Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash and Postmates. At some point, one of those companies would say, you know what? They get a little frisky. Like Amazon's the obvious one, but Google and Apple are the non-obvious ones, but pretty sticky. These delivery apps are pretty darn sticky.
They are. So you don't even have to buy them. You just support them. You just be their best friend. Apple becomes Uber's best friend.
Yeah, they just didn't.
And all of a sudden, iMessage is the super app. Yeah, I know. See,
but with Dara in charge, I could totally see Apple buying Uber. I know that sounds crazy, but I could see Apple or Google saying,
"Why buy them?"
Well, because then you would get 100% of the margin from those businesses, and when you're buying a business and you're Google or Apple, the business has to do tens of billions of dollars in revenue for it to move the needle.
Yeah.
And that's why Whole Foods was bought by Amazon. It was like enough revenue to actually be meaningful, right? And that's really what happens with these acquisitions. Sometimes they're technical and for the talent, like DeepMind, the AI company Google bought. Other times you're like, hey, YouTube could actually move the needle. And we've seen that happen, right? YouTube's revenue could actually move the needle. Android actually moved the needle. For Google. So it usually falls into one of those two camps. Did Beats move the needle for Apple? I wonder. That $2 billion acquisition, probably not. But I think it got them a demographic maybe they didn't have access to. Like Android had such a good footprint in urban markets, in cities and maybe with...
internationally.
and internationally. So Beats became, like a way to sort of get the urban market and younger market, which maybe they didn't have a good enough foothold in. So it gets you into the store, you buy the Beats by Dre, and then maybe you buy the iPhone because it works better with the Beats by Dre. I think that was the back channel I heard.
Yeah. I know that dealing with your personal health and your wellness can be daunting, especially right now. And by right now, I mean something like the last 3 years. Well, that is why Thorne created a care system that's personalized, preventative, and holistic while still being backed by science. Being any kind of a high performer is incredibly difficult, even if you're just sitting all day long at a desk. Remember, sitting is the new smoking. Okay, this is all where Thorne can help. Thorne offers at-home tests that identify where you need the most care. They offer things like a gut test that analyzes your gut microbiome, a stress test that measures your stress hormone fluctuations. These tests help eliminate the guesswork for good health by providing personalized steps for how to eat, how to exercise, and even what supplements you should take. And then Thorne has a range of multivitamins and supplements that you can subscribe to. Because again, this is personalized health and wellness. You take a quiz, you get the answer that is built for you. Get started, take 10% off your first order by heading to thorne.com/u/twist. That's thorne.com/u/twist to save 10%. Well, speaking of Apple,
yeah, we got to talk about this one because this is in your wheelhouse. This is, you must be happy.
I'm so delighted about this. Yeah. I think we all should be. The EU is shutting down competition for dongles. Hallelujah. The European Parliament has ruled that the USB Type-C port will be standard for all EU mobile phones, tablets, and cameras by fall 2024. It's going to be called the Amended Radio Equipment Directive because the EU loves to give things really fun names.
Sure. Telegraph.
But they're focused on the interoperability of charging solutions. It's been coming for a long time. Apparently, there was a proposal for it that was tabled back in September of 2021. And now, for sustainability reasons, they're saying, well, not completely. They're saying the law is intended to make products in the EU more sustainable, minimize electronic waste, and, quote, make consumers' lives easier.
Okay. This is what we all want.
This is what we all want. And you know what? Apple, you could have just done this, and now you're going to be stuck with a stupid rule that has USB-C. Even if you want to develop some better standard than USB-C, now you're going to be stuck with a rule about USB-C, and I don't care, and I don't feel sorry for you because my watch and my computer and my freaking phone all have 3 different chargers, and that is ridiculous.
It's super ridiculous, and
ridiculous.
It's like, this really is a law specifically designed for Apple. The market made this a no-brainer for everybody else.
Yeah.
Why would I create my own standard? Well, the reason to create your own standard is because you have a monopolistic channel and you don't allow interoperability, and you can charge 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks for cables or charging bricks. And you can then deprecate and say accessory not supported for, cables I buy with multi-head dongles. Like, I was loving these cables I was buying from Taiwan on Amazon from third-party sellers that had all 3. Yeah. And you could have a USB-C, a USB 2, and an iPhone Lightning. And then all of a sudden the Lightning stops working. And, it worked last week. Why isn't it working this week? And, this part of me...
They literally broke it. They broke their own standard so that they could sell their own stuff.
This is an example of the free market did its job, and then one company, Apple, held out. The free market did its job. You can't buy an Android phone that doesn't use USB-C. You can't buy a laptop that doesn't use USB-C. You can't buy Anchor products or any brick that doesn't use USB-C, because you can sell a USB-C product now without a charger. And you just say, charger not included. That's on you. And people are like, yeah, that's fine. Why would I need another USB-C cable? I don't need one. I've got 20 in a drawer. But Lightning cables, So congratulations
but here's
to
why.
Apple. Yeah.
We should do a little back of the envelope math here to explain why Apple has held out this whole time and why they keep breaking those cheap Amazon cables. So since Apple stopped including accessories, they've sold roughly 200 million iPhones.
Okay.
The Lightning cables, headphones, and the charging connectors all retail for at least $19 each.
And that's their discounted prices now. They used to be much more.
They used to be much more. And you can buy the faster charging ones that are more. Apple's gross margin on those is roughly 38%.
It's ridiculous.
So if you have $60 in accessories, which you need if you have more than one Apple device, times a 60% materials cost, times 200 million iPhones, then Apple has made $7.2 billion.
Incredible. Yeah. And it's just pure profit.
Just pure profit.
And these cables, you're talking about billions of cables around the world that nobody needed. Trash. And so, Apple, Tim Cook, with this constant green, I don't want to say greenwashing, because I do think they are probably one of the best companies when it comes to being green. Like, you can't be green and then have a billion extra cables produced, like just do the right thing independent of
all of the earlier cables, break them, which ensures that they are trash. They are landfill. Whatever Apple has done on the green side, I don't care that they're recycling cobalt. The fact that they deprecate their own hardware and the cables that quickly makes it indefensible.
I just feel bad for whoever the VP of dongles at Apple is, and they're going to lose their job. I feel bad for them. Oh my God, these memes are going to be crazy.
Oh my God, Nick, did you make these? These are amazing.
EU mandates all mobile phones, tablets, and cameras to use USB-C. Apple's chief dongle complexity officer laid off, looking for a job. Apple, when they can't make you carry 7 different cables anymore. Yeah.
In the EU.
I mean, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
We love
it. To see
it. Quick hit. Enough big talk from Big Tech today. Here's our startup of the day. Religion of Sports. This is a sports media production company co-founded by Tom Brady and Michael Strahan and filmmaker and entrepreneur Gotham Chopra. They've raised $50 million in Series B funding for Religion of Sports. It was founded in 2017. And it started with unscripted documentary-style programming and has since launched dozens of shows with other elite athletes. Titles have been distributed on streaming platforms, Facebook, ESPN, Apple TV+. And along with creating unscripted, they're also looking to build out side projects with the funding. One's going to be NFTs for athletes.
Of course.
And trading cards have had a comeback, so maybe they'll do something there. According to Axios, Religion of Sports CRO, Amit Senkaran commented on how star-backed production companies are great for streaming services. Quote, the market has grown, and that has led to an opportunity for networks to invest in niche programming. When you're doing something with an athlete or talent people already know, you don't have to set the backstory. They come with built-in distribution. I mean, you see this with Draymond's podcast, which he's doing with
this is kind of,
Colin. I guess is doing that with him. And you bring your whole Twitter following. So this is going to be a major thing. And
it's a hot space, apparently. There's several of them already. There's Spring Hill Entertainment, founded by LeBron James and Maverick Carter, entertainment production company. There is 35 Ventures, founded by Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman. Unanimous Media, founded by Steph Curry and Eric Payton. I mean, this is an interesting follow-on to the media conversation we were just having. Right?
Yes.
So this works when times are hot. Does star power work? Because I feel like, I don't know if you've gone through this, but I've gone through many a podcast project where the idea was, well, we'll just book a bunch of big name stars and then everybody will listen to it. And it doesn't happen. It doesn't translate to lasting audience. So I'm super curious to know if this actually will.
So, I think the interesting thing that's happening here is, I think, we are having people who are stars in the league do this while they're active. So Draymond has been doing this after playoff games. And I just heard on the last Bill Simmons show, after the Warriors just absolutely annihilated the Celtics. Sorry, Bill. He had actually a talk about this. And he says he sees it as just like an extended press conference, which I get. It's like a press conference where you ask yourself the questions. But he made up a good point, which is, at some point, these narratives that are being done by players while the season is happening, not like postseason, not highly produced and edited, but live to tape kind of stuff, it could become part of the storyline, which could be super interesting. In other words, Draymond says something in the post-game show that now impacts the next game or impacts the series. Now the coach has to deal with it. And I guess at some point somebody was live streaming from the locker room. I don't remember which sport or TV team that was, but Bill mentioned it on his show. So this is going to have an impact on it. But people have the ability to broadcast from their phones now. There are some athletes who are incredibly charismatic, like Draymond, and or JJ Redick's doing really well right now. But typically it's after they leave the league. So what the real story here is that people are going to do this while they're in the league. They're going to be doing media stuff while they're playing in games, which is super fascinating.
It is, because it creates a living documentary, right? A real-time documentary of these teams. And also, of course, they're doing it while they're still playing because they're so much more relevant. Like it's sort of interesting to listen to a retired player if that retired player is like Michael Jordan, but if not, it's not as interesting. So they're capitalizing on the actual moment of fame, creating drama around the sport they're already doing, which creates a lot of interest. And they're also getting, maybe securing the bag while they're at the height of their fame. It's fascinating.
And look, the people like Charles Barkley, my understanding is he makes like $10, $20 million a year doing inside the NBA and the stuff that comes from it. He's making, I think the most he made, I actually talked to Draymond about this, was $7 or $8 million, I think, when he was a player. So now after being, a top, 50 player in the league, he makes more money now, retired, just doing inside the NBA. And as he should, he's an incredible talent and draws a big audience. A lot of these projects have been vanity projects where you're doing, or pet projects. You're doing media that you want to see in the world, which is what rich people have always done. They've backed movies they want to see, or series, or magazines, depending on the era. And so a lot of this with LeBron James.
Like the Medicis, they're patrons.
They're like patrons. They're doing media. Steph Curry has one. He's doing and they produce scripts. So it's stuff they want to see in the world. If it makes money, if it breaks even, it's, affluent people, making media because they get enjoyment out of it, which is also totally valid. I think what will happen is, I'm going to go out on a limb here, is I think, one or two of these athletes are going to become so good at it that they could in fact make what would be considered like the next the Athletic or the next ESPN or the next Barstool. So I do think this is the future of media. I think someone like a Draymond Green who understands how to do it firsthand. I mean, he's solo doloing these podcasts he's doing, which is an incredible skill, and they're really good. Like, I look forward to watching his, and as much as I look forward to watching Bill Simmons after a playoff game. So I consider those like two different complementary media types for me as a sports fan. And I could see Draymond then building enough audience in the way Charles Barkley has. Now, Charles Barkley probably has no interest in competing with Inside the NBA or creating his own version, Molly. But I could see someone like Draymond doing that. I could see him making the next big media company.
So then,
he could fund it himself,
Right. So then back to our earlier conversation, though, about investability.
Yeah.
This Religion of Sports has raised $50 million in Series B funding.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Not a good investment. I mean,
they're private equity, I think. I think no matter what, even with star power attached, I don't think you're getting all that money back times 10.
Well, you make, listen, if you get two or three times your money and you get to be in business with a bunch of athletes and it's a bunch of, rich people who are funding it, who are capital allocators, who have an affinity for the person. A lot of media creation is because people have an affinity and want to see it in the world. Movies, books, magazines, and podcasts. So that is valid. And then what's also valid is somebody could potentially build the next great media brand from this. And that's what I'm looking at, is there will be one or two that come out of this that actually build a large sustainable brand. I mean, actually, you saw with Obama, they did that giant Netflix deal, right? And that was what? Was that $50 million? They did a deal. And then they did it with Spotify as well. Yeah. And Obama is, and so I think these are, actually themes here. It's a theme. People who have huge followings post when they're playing, whether it's, being the actual active president of the United States, Trump or Obama, then what do they do next? How do they capitalize on that following, whether it's an athlete or a politician? And now you see it with whatever the fakaka stupid Trump platform. What is it called?
Yeah, social, Truth
Trumpet?
Social. Trumpet. Oh, Trumpet. Man, that's a good name.
I think that's what Elon calls it, Trumpet. So like Trumpet, or, Obama did a really nice podcast series I enjoyed with Bruce Springsteen. And the two of them talking, I found delightful. And so now Obama's, I think, doing that particularly well. So it's all the same themes, and most of them are going to be corny. Most of them are not going to make money. Most will fail. But there'll be one or two that could be the next big franchise, right? And I could see it being Draymond. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there right now.
Okay, I like that. Place a bet, man. Place a bet.
I would for sure. Let's do We Live in the Future. We love doing startups. We love doing We Live in the Future.
Yeah, really. Especially when the future is just like, you get a whole new ear.
Yeah.
Assuming that you need one. A Texas woman has received a 3D printed ear transplant, which a biotech startup made from a sample of her own cells.
Okay.
Yeah.
We live in the future for sure. Okay, explain. Who's doing this?
So this company, 3D Therapeutics, it's a biotech company based in Queens, New York, raised $10 million.
Shout out Queens.
I know, right? Shout out Queens.
Shout out Flushing.
Was founded in 2016, raised $10 million, which actually doesn't even seem like that much considering 3D printing ears. So also, I don't know what's always so funny about ears, but it's funny. It's funny.
They're unique appendages. Yes. They're all weird looking and unique.
So this woman was suffering from a thing called microtia, a deformity of the outer ear. Basically, during pregnancy, while she was in the womb, the ear did not fully form. So it leaves behind this kind of smaller, like not quite complete ear. So 3D Bio and Dr. Arturo Bonilla, a pediatric ear reconstructive surgeon in San Antonio, like they took 0.5 gram of cartilage from her own underdeveloped ear. I mean, look at those bananas.
Oh my Lord, banana pants.
They shipped the sample and a 3D scan of the healthy ear from San Antonio to 3D Bio's lab in New York City. Mm-hmm. They isolate the cartilage formation cells, supplement them with nutrients, and mix in a collagen-based bio ink, load it into a 3D printer, and in 10 minutes...
Yeah, of course. This 3D printing is fast.
They have a new ear. And then they ship it overnight to the surgeon who implanted it just under her skin above her jawbone. Boom. Ear.
The first of many. This will continue and we will see more and more complex body parts printed. People have done the valves of hearts. At some point, you ever see The Fifth Element when they're 3D printing, based on just the hand of... the woman.
I love The Fifth Element. That movie is amazing.
Fifth Element's so great. Femke Jensen, I believe. Is that
it's
the other person.
Malala blah 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 blah.
Yes, that one. Yes,
the one who went on to do all the zombie movies.
The zombie movies. Yes, she's awesome. One of our noties will tell us her name.
Auto wash.
Mila Jovovich.
Damn it!
You.
I was so close.
No, I got it myself. I was about to look.
You did? I was like,
I did.
Literally. Okay.
Only because it's my favorite, like top 5 sci-fi film for me.
Yes.
Blade Runner. Prometheus, Fifth Element.
Yep. Excellent.
What else do I love up in that?
Kind of now Dune. I put the new Dune on that list. That movie was amazing.
Watch it. I watched the first 15 minutes. My wife said we have to watch it together and we haven't had the time, but we're going up to Tahoe for the summer and we got the movie theater, so we're going to Dune it out.
Watch it. Don't do what I did, which was watch it on the plane. It's not a good airplane movie, turns out.
Poor Villanueva. Is that the guy's name? Villanueva?
Yeah.
He's just like literally, he's a big fan of the show and he's crying right now. He's
he is. Villeneuve.
Wait, didn't he also do Fifth Element?
Did he?
Did he? No, he did Blade Runner 2049. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent here. The fact is, like that. See, this is where the producers could find the actual clip.
Oh no, of course, that's one of my favorites. That's Luc Besson.
Luc Besson, yes, thank you. But anyway, they basically, in this chamber, here we go. Thank you very much. YouTube.com/this weekend to watch the show live, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. most days. And you see they're 3D printing with a bunch of goo going into this thing. And they start with a little hand that they take from the wreckage and 3D print the rest of the body from the DNA. And it's just a wonderful thing to watch because they do the bones first and then they do it's actually, they do it very poetically. If you remember, all of the muscle fibers get stringed over the bone after it gets built. And I think this is what We Live in the Future is about.
It 100% is. Don't you think this inspired the open of Westworld?
Yes, of course. When I saw Westworld, I was like, they just stole this straight up from The Fifth Element. But this is like they pull the muscle fibers over the body. They're like almost like they're weaving. It's like looks like a loom of some type. What a great thing! Yeah,
it's so great. But yeah, we're gonna have organs. We're gonna have body parts. Like it really, we do live in the future, and the future could be super cool.
I mean, we start with the ears. They're doing valves in the hearts. We already have they replace your hip. So each body part, the brain is going to be, the last one. But, other things they might be able to do relatively quickly. And they're already moving skin grafts back and forth, because that's just easier. But I mean, the ability to 3D print your own skin sounds like a no-brainer to me. So
it really
burn
does.
victims, tragically, or, you lose some, in some, violent accident, you lose some skin or you lose some muscle. Why can't we replace that? That seems like that's possible. Yeah. So I'm just thrilled for our kids that, there's going to be like this whole level of stuff. And we got to experience, maybe cancer being manageable. I was talking to a cancer doctor this weekend, and, the mortality rates have just flipped, people are surviving breast cancer. And, even some of the ones that were considered pretty gnarly, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer, they're now starting to be able to manage those. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to go from management to maybe lifetime management of some of those.
Absolutely. And mRNA, fantastic. I mean, as much as we've managed to screw up the magic of the technology that created these coronavirus vaccines, we're very close to a universal coronavirus vaccine, because this mRNA technology is phenomenal. And it could eventually be, there are viruses that cause cancer. We really are on the verge
HIV
of an incredible, right. They're literally working toward a cure for HIV that could be here very soon. I mean, we live on the precipice of a phenomenal biotech revolution.
Be optimistic, folks. I mean, we're sitting here in a recession, layoffs, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, China, US. There's so many things for you to have anxiety about. The reason I created the We Live in the Future segment, and I'm so obsessed with us doing it, 1, 2, 3 times a week, is because when you watch this show, I want people to be, I want people's optimism, Molly, to match reality. And I feel like right now our optimism is at a 10. I'm sorry, optimism is at a 2, and our reality is a 10.
Yeah. And
if I could get people to a 6 or 7 in their optimism, I think we would all, come to our daily lives with a little more enthusiasm. All right. It's been a great show, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you are a founder of a pre-Series A company, you haven't raised that Series A yet, which is really hard. Well, we wanted to invite you to Founder University. This is a 2-day intensive course. It takes place on June 13th and 14th. It's remote. It's free. We limit the number of people who can come. We ask you to apply. And this virtual workshop is free for founders and helps you understand how to fundraise and pitch, how to hire great people, how to build a world-class product, how to execute on your sales and marketing, and some growth techniques as well. The launch team and I have been doing this for a long time. It has been amazing for us to get to know founders, and that's why we do it. Of course, we want to help folks, as many as possible. That's part of our mandate. But really, our mandate at launch here at This Week in Startups and the Syndicate, which is where we invest, we meet and invest in companies, is we want to back builders. And so we use these events as a way to get to know you. And if you're building something and we see you're credibly building something interesting in the world, well, then we want to invest in you. So truth be told, every time we do Founder University, half dozen of those people we wind up funding in the next year or so. So it's a great way for us to spend time with entrepreneurs. We're going to be joined by a lot of experts. My friend Becky DeGraw, who's my attorney from Wilson Sonsini, will be speaking at the event. Fitbot's co-founder, Jesse, will be speaking. Marlowe CEO Mary Fox will be speaking. So we get a bunch of our portfolio companies who have been crushing it and who have learned a lot. And we've seen that they are qualified builders. We have them come speak at the event. So you see how we do things here at This Week in Startups and Launch and the Syndicate. We like to create a flywheel. We invest in people who come out of Founder University. Some number of them really crush it and become world-class companies. And it's not guaranteed. You have to do the work, folks. The ones who do, then we have them speak at a later Founder University. So a lot of the great companies we've met came to a Founder University. They got to know us. They learned something that was worth their time. And that's really what we do with the agenda. We try to make it worth your time to take 2 days off work, essentially. Now, it's remote, so you can consider it your weekend, even though it's taking place during the week. You consider it professional development. And if you learn 1 or 2 important things about running a company, fundraising, growth, hiring, well, those 1 or 2 things will pay for those 2 days. I am absolutely certain of it. Now, you have to apply again, so you can register at founder.university. Yes, it's a great domain name. So go to founder.university and sign up. We also have a course called angel.university. If you want to invest in the companies and you think the philosophy I've explained here about how I invest in companies, and I've invested in over 300 of them. If you think this is an interesting way to meet startups early, help them, and invest in them, well, you can read my deal memos as we invest in new companies, and you can join us on that adventure. And I do this through a course called Angel University that has raised close to $200,000 for charity. And you can sign up for Angel University at angel.university. We do it 4 times a year. Great program. And it's just me and my partner, Mike Savino, talking about how we pick companies, how we evaluate them, how we diligence them, how we source them. Like Founder University is a source of investment and deal flow for us. And that 3 or 4 hour course, actually, I think it's more like 4 or 5 hours, is well worth your time. All the proceeds from Angel University go to charity. And again, over 175,000, I think at this point, has gone to charity. So I'm very proud of that work. And Founder University is free, but you do have to apply, and we do pick people who have built a little bit of something. So we're looking for you to have some skin in the game. We have a Founder University 12-week program, which you can also see at founder.university. We'll be starting our 3rd cohort shortly. And you can apply for that program if you have not started building, or you're very early stages, haven't incorporated yet, you're nowhere near the Series A, you're kind of in the solo or co-founder situation and you're just starting to build. Maybe you've incorporated, maybe you haven't. And that's a 12-week course. And that's another great one that we do. So please join us, founder.university. And if you want to invest in these great companies, angel.university.